What is up, team? Welcome back to the Red Storm Rapid Reaction Podcast. I'm Pat Kane. I'm joined once again by my good friend Cole Atshaw. And what a wonderful day it is in Johnny Nation. Wonderful 2 days, right, Cole? St. John's seemingly has their backcourt all set for the next season. They get back-to-back commitments from two of the best guards left in the transfer portal, two of the best guards in all college basketball, Deivon Smith from Utah and Kadary Richmond from Seton Hall. Of course, we're very familiar with Kadary. Really excited to talk about these two new additions and the seemingly near complete transfer haul for Rick Pitino in this transfer season. Cole, how you feeling today?
You can never say that with Rick Pitino, Pat. You can never say like nearly complete. We don't know what's coming down the pike. We learned that lesson last year when we thought we had a full boat, and all of a sudden he started making up additional scholarships. I know we last spoke when we got the commitments from Aaron Scott and Vince Uwachukwu. I know my excitement was a little tempered after that. I said, but that could completely change overnight once we get some additional pieces to this portal haul. Then after that, we get the number one overall player in the transfer portal class, according to 24/7, and the number 13th ranked player in first player in Kadary Richmond, 13th in Deivon Smith. I've completely flip-flopped from that tempered expectation to now being over the moon. Like, expectations are Final Four or bust. Everybody jump on board the bandwagon. It's time to get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, we'll have to do our best to maintain our composure, to keep our expectations realistic. Not always the easy thing to do for St. John's fans. We'll do our best here to lead that charge. Realistic expectations, maybe just Final Four or bust, right? And that's realistic.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, no. We'll walk before we run. All right, St. John's has got a lot of time to make up, and we're just excited to have the potential roster to compete with the upper echelon of the Big East and the rest of college basketball. So super excited for Kadary, super excited for Deivon, and of course, excited for Aaron and Vince, who joined a week before. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Kadary Richmond, like I said, a very familiar player to most St. John's fans, playing for a conference rival in Seton Hall. 6'6" senior guard. Last year, he averaged 15.7 points, 7 rebounds, 5.1 assists, 2.2 steals, 0.6 blocks. He shot 44% from the field, 27% from three, and 81% from the free throw line. He brings a ton of versatility. He's got great defensive instincts, especially away from the basketball. He's got good hands, always near the top of the Big East ranks in terms of steals each season. He is a tremendous playmaker, and he brings a wealth of experience at the Big East and the high major level. Last year, he was a member of the first team All Big East team. He was third in the Big East in total assists, fifth in defensive rebounds, first in steals, and sixth in defensive rating. His per 100 possession numbers translate to 31 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, and 4 steals. For comparison's sake, last year, Dennis Jenkins was 28 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals. So we can fill that production right there with Kadary, and obviously someone who's well respected, not just as a guy who produces numbers, but can lead to victories and can play well with the best teams in the Big East. Some note his poor 3-point shooting. Interestingly, I found he was 37 for 107 in his career against Big East teams from three. That's 35%. Obviously not a huge number of attempts, but a pretty solid percentage. Not a complete lack of a 3-point shot. I think he's a contender for the preseason Big East Player of the Year next season, a supremely talented player that can impact the game on both ends and actively create shots for his teammates. Cole, what are some of your more thoughts on Kadary Richmond?
Say it with me, Pat. Our favorite phrase, positional versatility.
There it is. There it is.
6'6" ball dominant guard. There's been a lot of talk amongst Johnny Nation about fit with Kadary and also with Deivon Smith. Both aren't tremendous shooters, but you're talking about a day one preseason first team All Big East player. He's that good. Adam Zagoria put out an article. He had a great quote from Rick Pitino. Pitino said, "I think he's the best passer I've ever seen in college in a long, long time, since probably shades of Magic Johnson." That's unbelievably high praise from a guy who's been around for quite a while.
Sure.
And that'll pair nicely with a guy like Smith, who is a better spot-up shooter than trying to shoot off the dribble. Zach Braziller put out an article. He quoted Kadary talking about Rick Pitino's recruitment of him. And Rick told him, Kadary said, Rick told me to do my research of the players he had that struggled shooting and take a look at the jumps that they made. If Rick can help improve Kadary's catch and shoot and 3-point struggles, you're talking, as you mentioned, a guy that is a legitimate candidate for Big East Player of the Year. I see a lot. I'm going to go a blast from the past. I see a lot of Kyle Anderson's game as a comp. That slow, methodical, heady player who always makes the right pass, finishes through contact. It's unbelievable player offensively. You mentioned also his defensive prowess. Defense is a big calling card for him. 2.2 steals a game last year. Evan Maya had some advanced analytics. He put out a good tweet earlier where he had Kadary as the 6th best defensive player in BPR, which is advanced metrics, kind of looks at sort of overall rating for a player. And he also noted that comparing games where Seton Hall was with and without Kadary, Seton Hall was 12 points per game better in defensive, like per 100 possessions. So 12 points per game per 100 possessions. I mean, that's a huge difference with and without the guy. So unbelievable pickup. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, 247 has them the first ranked overall player in their transfer portal class. It's just incredible.
Yeah, some great deep dive on the numbers there. Some good quotes. I love the quotes that mentioned Kadary. He used "we" a couple times in reference to us bringing in targets. Kadary already seemed like he was really, welcome the challenge to be part of it. Him and Deivon seem to be trying to build a relationship, which they'll need to do. They'll get, extremely comfortable with themselves next year, playing alongside each other. I've said it a million times. Players who can impact the game outside of scoring are my favorite type of players. And do you need guys who can catch and shoot? Do you need guys whose first instinct is to score? Absolutely. But to fill in all those gaps, to have guys who can rebound from the guard position, who have guys who can set up their teammates and get in the paint and to play defense at a high level, at a high speed, I think can help, cover up some of that lack of outside shooting and can build a culture of everybody getting on the floor for rebounds, everybody buying into the defensive approach and creating easy baskets from that side of the ball much more hopefully at a higher clip than we were able to last year. And I think Smith and Kadary both on the defensive end will have just as much of an impact as they will on the offensive end. But let's talk about his new teammate, his soon-to-be partner in the backcourt, Deivon Smith. Deivon's a 6-foot senior transfer from Utah. Last year, he averaged 13.3 points, 6.3 rebounds, 7.1 assists, 1.1 steals, and 0.3 blocks. He shot 47% from the field, 41% from 3, and 68% from the free throw line. He has got tremendous athleticism, jump off the floor athleticism, could wow you guys with his quickness, his jumping ability. He really is an upper echelon type athlete, a guy who can really wow you with those skills there. He's a tremendous passer, can rebound extremely well from the guard position, and he's got experience playing in the Pac-12, in the SEC, and the ACC. And next year, hopefully he'll be doing his best to dominate the Big East. He started his career at Mississippi State, then went to Georgia Tech and Utah. Last year was first in the Pac-12 in assists per game, 9th in rebounds per game, 1st in steals, 10th in field goal percentage, and 3rd in box score plus minus. His per 100 possessions translate to 25 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists, and 2 steals. You can see Jenkins' numbers there to compare him to. 5 triple doubles, led the nation in triple doubles last season. It will be interesting to see him and Richmond battle it out next year for some, triple double races. Could be like, Mantle and Maris back in '61 going for the school record. I think he might be the most athletic guard in the Big East next season. He lives in the paint, and his ability to rebound and go produces opportunities to score in transition. Cole, your thoughts on Deivon Smith?
Electric, shifty guard who loves to take the ball to the rim. What's there not to like? Shoots about last year, 47% of his field goal attempted were at the rim. Tough, hard-nosed kid who loves to rebound. Like you mentioned, averaged 6.3 last year, 5.6 the year before that with Georgia Tech. Never below 3.4, even in his first year.
He's been there.
So that's a big part of his game. You mentioned the triple doubles. He set the Pac-12 single season record with 5 triple doubles, despite not playing for the first month of the season as he waited out eligibility. Those triple doubles were at home and at Stanford against Arizona, which was a tremendous team, although that game did go to 3 overtimes and he played 49 minutes. And then their 2 of their last 3 games of the season in the NIT against Iowa and VCU. He also, I'm not sure how much NIT basketball you were watching at the end of the season, but he had an absolutely insane game in the semifinals, their last game against Indiana State, 28 points, 7 boards, 6 assists, 6 for 6 from 3-point. Nobody played a lick of defense in that game. It was 100-90, but Deivon's performance was incredible. You got to love the quote from Pitino. He tweeted this out after Deivon signed. Reminds me of Terry Rozier, total dog who rebounds, creates, and scores. Yeah, I don't know that you have to say too much. Besides that, the only question I ask is which shooter are we going to get? He averaged 40% shooting from 3 last year, but 26, 28, and 28 from 3 the 3 prior seasons with G-Tech and Mississippi State. While, for comparison purposes, shooting from the free throw line, 68%, 45%, 59%, and 62%, which I think, shooting from free throw is a good barometer for how good of an actual shooter you are. Seems like, especially for a 6-foot guard, struggles mightily from the free throw line.
Yep, that's definitely the concern, especially the free throw, the numbers. Even last year, close, best of his career was under 70%. And a guy that athletic, that quick is going to live in the paint, going to be getting a fair share of free throws. Sure. And you're hoping to close out games late, you want the ball in your guys who can make free throws hands. So if that's an issue, then it's good. We're going to have some depth in the backcourt now. But you bring up a great point. Who knows? You'd have to expect at least some regression there from the 40%, just from the previous year statistics and the fact that he was 10 for 13 in the NIT from 3, so that really raised his percentages up towards the end of the season. But if he's 33 to 37%, somewhere in that range where he's a threat and he has to be guarded at somewhere between 2 and 3 attempts, that can go a long way. Are the concerns legitimate in terms of our backcourt's inability to shoot? Yeah, they're concerns you got to worry about, but I think they're concerns that we have a Hall of Fame coach who can conceivably think of the best way to get around it, how to supplement the rest of the lineups, how to add to this roster. We still have a scholarship left to give that can alleviate some of those shooting concerns, or to allow us to play at a different style, which doesn't rely on the ability to shoot as much. Will it always help to have shooters? Yeah. So hopefully those guys have improvement, even if Smith's percentage doesn't go up, if he can be a more consistent shooter on more attempts, and if Kadary can be more willing to take shots off the catch, maybe it's enough to erase all those small things that we can't do because we can shoot, and we have a team that can play Pitino's up and down style with full court defense and living at the free throw line and killing the offensive boards. So I think those are risks you take when it comes to adding talent at this level. I think we did discuss last week, Cole, the potential targets. We mentioned these 2. We mentioned a few others. A few have since chosen to go elsewhere. So the pool of transfers still trying to find high major teams is shrinking by the day. We see in green Deivon and Kadary. Since we last talked, Pop Isaacs chose Creighton. Norchad Omier chose Baylor, and Cliff Omarai, whatever, I don't care about pronouncing your name anymore, is at Bama. The other 3 guys, Kai Tandy, Wilga Poplar, and Dylan Mitchell. Tandy, I haven't heard his name in a few weeks. Not sure if we're still interested. Poplar seems to be erased us from his list. Seems like Nova might have the inside track there. And Dylan Mitchell continues to be a forward that we are in conversations with. At least it seems so. Rumors that he visited this past weekend. We heard today from Chile that there's really 3 forwards that are in the focus of our staff. We heard Rick Pitino say out loud, a power forward is what he needs. The 3 guys that we've been linked to are Dylan Mitchell, Jameer Watkins, and Kassan Pryor. All 3 guys a little bit different in their style of play. All of them, about that same tier of a player you'd think they'd be coming at a pretty high price. So we'd have to pay to get one of these three guys, and they might come with some expectations for minutes and shots and the like. But we'll see how important Rick Pitino feels adding talent at this post, or the front court is, as opposed to finding the fit. Do you have any preliminary thoughts on these three guys, Cole?
Yeah, we mentioned when we were talking about potentially being a landing spot for Norchad Omier, and we mentioned Dillon Mitchell as maybe a backup plan. And I said, that's not a bad backup plan for a guy who I think is ranked currently like 21st in 247's transfer portal rankings. Like that's not a bad backup plan to have. If he was on campus, that's awesome. He's, as we mentioned in our last pod, like athletic freak, can do unbelievable things on a basketball court. I would question, again, I shouldn't even say I would question. We've said before, you don't question anything regarding fit. When you have a coach like Rick Pitino, he can take the most talented guys and put together a roster however he sees fit, because he's a Hall of Fame basketball coach and he knows how to get the most out of his players and put them together in spots. I would be curious if you had a lineup of, say, Kadary, Smith, RJ Lewis, Dillon Mitchell, and Zuby. I would be curious who the hell's shooting, and why a team wouldn't just literally put all five players on defense, like in the paint, and just allow us to shoot threes over them. But again, that would be Rick's problem to figure out, and I'm sure he would undoubtedly figure it out. You get the best players in the door and figure it out from there. I would say then, on top of like the targets, Jameer Watkins also seems to be a tremendous player, might fit maybe that stretch role a little bit better, as same with Kassan Pryor. I think he's a little bit on the smaller side, but I would add to Trilly's list, still waiting on a lawsuit for Chris Ledlam. He would seem to fit in nicely in that power forward spot. Yep. I will quote Mr. Donovan that sometimes the best gets are the gets you already have. So fingers crossed still for Chris and for Jordan Dingle. Those would be two pretty good late additions for this point in the portal.
Yep, a mishap. I mean, not putting Chris on this list. Of course, we're still holding out hope that those two guys get cleared to play. Dingle could really shore up some of that shooting. It could be a nice piece to that backcourt, more than just a piece, obviously. And Ledlam could add some, rebounding, scoring, strength, and that front court experience, all those things. So both those guys could be, big potential pieces. So fingers crossed there. I did mean to put Pryor listed as a forward as well, although he did play a lot of his time last year as a center for South Florida. He's a 6'9", 210-pound guy who's not the biggest of frame, but he has shown the ability to play inside. I think you look at these guys, we've got a good enough roster to compete right now. Obviously, you want to get it forward to help balance out the roster and to make it the best roster possible. I think, what could happen to our team to lower our floor and make it a struggle to be competitive. It's like, what happens if Zuby or Vince goes down, and now our 5 spot with the current slot is Aaron Scott being the backup center or something like that. In a situation like that, it does seem pretty dicey. So, if you're looking for interior scoring and rebounding from your next front court piece, a guy who could be an insurance policy at the 5 and also bring some added depth as an interior piece at the 4, I think Dillon Mitchell would be your best guy. If you're looking to raise your ceiling, like if we want to be, like you said, have more potential threats from the perimeter, have guys who can score from the outside or be scorers from the wing, I think that the best bet would be Jameer Watkins. He's not the interior presence that Mitchell or Pryor is, but he's a really good scorer, a shooter, and a physical enough and a good enough athlete to play that 4 spot and to help shore up the forward position, but not really help you at that 5 spot. And then Pryor, I think, is a mix of both those guys. He's not quite the athlete of Mitchell. He's not the perimeter player of Watkins, but he can cover both those bases at a pretty good level. I'm not sure. There might be some other guys that we're not even thinking about who might fill the spot even better or might be more attainable. But I think these 3 guys, if you told me we got one of them, I'd be, super happy. I'm already really happy, really excited to see what happens. So any of these 3 guys, I think, would be a good get. I'll trust Rick Pitino to go and make the decision. And if it's not one of these 3 guys, then it's more stuff for us to get excited about, to hear a new name in a week or 2. You agree there, Cole? Is there anything that worries you about these 3?
100%. No, I would nothing that worries me. I'm not going to complain about fit or anything like that. Rick Pitino is the GOAT. 100% trust him unequivocally. I think 247 has their updated transfer portal class rankings out now. We're currently ranked 4th in that ranking. So I think we finished 6th last year. So moving on up in the world. It's just an amazing haul already, with the ability to potentially add more and find the one additional missing piece to fit in that power forward slot. So,
hey, remember, we were excited last year when we got all the transfers. The roster was complete heading of the year. It didn't turn into an NCAA tournament. All right, so this is all well and good, and it's awesome that we can be this excited about St. John's in the first week of May. But we need this to translate to success on the court. And trust me, we're not saying anything that Rick Pitino is not preaching. I mean, he knows this is nothing if it doesn't lead to wins. So as a fan base, let's not go crowning ourselves yet. Let's not hang any NCAA tournaments or Final Four banners until they actually come. All right, anything can happen in a basketball game. Anything can happen in a college basketball game. Not always the best team or the best roster makes it there. So this is one step in the right direction. We're headed there. We're super excited, but we haven't won anything yet. So let's keep that in mind while we're winning our wars on Twitter. And we're battling in the offseason with the rest of the Big East and those fan bases that are so rapidly, enjoying what is this transfer portal free agency period.
The one thing I would say to that is you do see like a blatant philosophy shift in how Rick and co are handling the portal and portal additions last year. Obviously, we had talked about this previously, but he was taking sort of younger kids who were transferring for the first time under the thought that the NCAA wasn't going to allow sort of the unlimited transfers that they are now allowing. He also was taking some guys moving up levels, a la Dingle, a la Chris Ledlam coming from the Ivy League. You see that sort of changing this year, where he's taking more guys who have already proven that they can contribute at a high major level. Deivon, Vince Iwuchukwu playing at USC, Aaron Scott even in North Texas. Kadary, obviously, already first team all Big East already, has already proven he can play at this level. So you see an obvious change in philosophy. And we've said it before, in my opinion, you don't know how many years you've got left out of Rick Pitino. You have to make sure you have the horses. And I think Rick obviously understands that. I think Mike Rapoli understands that. He's willing to open up his checkbook and make sure that Rick has all the horses that he needs.
Tough weekend for Rapoli, but you got to celebrate today, it seemed like. Again, you bring up some great points, Cole. He's adjusted, it seems, at this age to what, this transfer portal is new to a lot of guys. He's adjusted in 1 year. DK on the message boards, he's been all over the place. God, that's great stuff. He's brought up the point that if Rick is enjoying this, and you might have brought this up too, Cole, if he's enjoying this portal, it's just bodes better for us. Maybe we're looking at it the opposite way. Like, maybe he's enjoying the fact that he could shed some pounds, theoretically shed some unwanted poundage come beach season, and then add some pieces in the portal to kind of round up the roster. And he's done a heck of a job this year. It was savvy move by him. Credit to him for, shouting out the returners today in the tweet before really acknowledging the new pieces, saying how important it is to keep those guys in the fold. So, so far, Rick Pitino, he's not stressing. He's not freaking out like the fan base has this offseason, and he's done enough to keep me, at bay and super, super excited to see what's next.
One thing, too, I do want to say is all the Seton Hall fans complaining about us taking a player from a Big East rival, like, they can suck it. If you want to be mad at anybody, don't be mad at Kadary. Don't be mad at Rick Pitino. Don't be mad even at the Big East. If you want to be mad at anybody, you can be mad at the ACC, who in 2021 was the first conference to approve interconference transfers. Immediately after that happened, every other conference followed suit. You can't have one conference allowing the interconference transfers and every other conference not doing it. So if that's going to be the lay of the land, then of course there are going to be people trying to take your best player. And if you're a poverty program like Seton Hall, who can't afford to open up, have one of their boosters open up their pocketbook like we can with Mike Rapoli, then of course you're going to have your best players poached. So again,
history lesson there by Cole.
Whether we like it or we don't like it, it's the lay of the land and it's the rules that we have to play by. So you can't be surprised when you don't have the NIL bucks to spend. You can't be surprised when you lose your best players, even to a conference.
in principle, I don't love it either. But once teams start doing it, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you're not going to join in and do it yourself. And the conference itself is at risk of losing talented players if they're not going to go out and recruit the transfers from their own competition within conference. So it is what it is. It's, not everyone's buddy to buddy. You don't have to love the fact that you did it. I get it that it's upsetting. You're going to, look back and do you celebrate those 3 years? Do you not? It's tough. We went through that with Posh and to a lesser extent with Sue and other guys who have transferred from St. John's. It's not always, what's best for the fans. It's hopefully what's best for the kids. And I'll leave it there at that message. Cole, thank you for joining in. Thanks to all the St. John's insiders who are out there. There's plenty of them. Y2 on Twitter, whoever the hell you are, I think you redeemed yourself pretty well. Credit to you. I don't think he's out there stirring up shit. He's not looking for attention. People ask him what he thinks. He shares it. So I'm a fan over there. Of course, Dave, Frank, they do great work on their podcast. Zach always, adding his tidbits in his articles. Paul's been on the boards, and there's plenty of other guys I'm sure I forgot. Who's the one we were talking about this week who seemingly's got the input? SJU 11 or something like that. He's really been on his stuff lately. 79, all those guys. So if I missed you, I'm sorry. Thanks for everybody for listening, for tuning in, for subscribing, for Cole for joining me as always. For Anthony Mason Jr., I'm Pat Kane. This has been the Red Star Rapid Reaction Podcast. Peace.